Welcome to the Great Falls subdivision of the Great Northern Railway in northern Montana. This will be a tour of the layout so you know where places are and how to use the panels for changing turnouts. Throttles and locomotives will be in a later video. On the western end of the line we have Seattle, and on the eastern side of the line we have St. Paul, just before you get to Chicago. Leaving staging, because we can't do the whole distance, it's not big enough. We have trains parked in staging, all set to go in an operating session. They leave Seattle, make their way across Washington State. Once they've gone through Washington State and Idaho, they arrive in Montana. And this is the approach into Shelby. With all the diesels waiting, be serviced and prepared for their future runs, and down to the roundhouse. Some operating sessions we only run diesels, in others we only run steam, and sometimes both. At the moment everything is set up for steam. This shows that there's very little left in the roundhouse. There's one loco just showing, there's a couple of diesels, a rail bus, the snowplow, and the coaling facilities. Although most locos are oil fired, we still have to reload some of the coal switches which are still left on the system. There is a switch tower at each end of Shelby. This is West Shelby. Control panel controls all the turnouts within the yard. Mainline turnouts operated by push buttons and indication by LEDs. We'll show you how they operate soon. Systems run with easy DCC. We have 2 tethered throttles. We have 2 of the old style radio throttles, which are the best, and the new 5000s, which well, I won't say anything else. The caboose is on the caboose track and the yard. All mainline tracks are code 70. All yard tracks and tracks other than the main line are code 55. All the turnouts in this yard are operated by servos through Tam Valley boards, singlet boards. Stuff on the main line can be a combination of switchmaster and 2 tortoise. Turnout indication on the main line. For every turnout there is an indicator and pressing the button will change the turnout. Here you can see the turnout and its associated button. We touch the button, the light changes and the turnout throws. Some are quicker than others, but that's deliberate. We touch it again and it goes back. While we're doing that, we also have two signals, the one on the main line and the dwarf. We throw the turnout and the signals change. The turnouts in the yard are identified with small switch stands. You don't have to touch them, they're there purely for ornamental reasons, and they go through the yard. To change the turnout, we use the panel. At the moment we want to go into the arrival track, which is this track through here, but two of the turnouts are against us. We want to come into the yard from the main line, so we press this button and you see the lights change and the turnouts change. We want to go through this track, but it's red, so we can't go that way, so we press the button so that we can go that way. We press the button and the turnouts change accordingly. And there's another one. That is a concept that's foreign to quite a few modelers. They do not understand that if you want to go along a particular track, you press the button that's red, not the button that's green. How they get the idea of green, I am not sure. So, we have our through track. As you can see, there are numbers alongside each turnout. This means they can be turned by the throttle. Switchmaster stands here, he hits those, but if there's a crowd of people and we need to throw a turnout because there's an apprentice running the panel, we can do it from the throttle. That we shall show later. So the numbers are there, and we do have 4 routes, so that enter 60, all these lights will change to green. We go 63, we come up into the yard, and the numbers. The panel is still to be finished, possibly change the colour. I don't. This is the east end of Shelby. Trains go from here towards St Paul and to Great Falls North. Great Falls is at the bottom of a triangle and can be approached from Havre or Shelby. So we can get there either way. Whichever way we go, we've got to climb a hill. All refrigerator cars that come into the yard must go to the icing stage to be topped up with ice. And for the good Australian modelers, this is the icing stage. The ice gets pulled along on the conveyor and it's loaded into the hatches. These hatches are opened and the ice is dropped into the hatch. And we can open more hatches if we wish. The next stop along the line is Havre. Havre North is at the back of the main line, the far side. We are panning towards the east, so the north is the far side, south is the front side. Industries and towns. There's also a shelf for the waybills and car cars to sit on while that area is being serviced. Once it's serviced, those car cards are placed in the appropriate boxes. And again, you can see green lights with 2 red at the end, because the engine in the on the right hand side, this side of the two trees, is on the interchange with the Chicago, Burlington and Quincy, and these are wagons being returned and will be going into Shelby Yard. At all switching locations there's always somewhere to put the throttle, and you can see the throttle holder. These are slightly converted electronic rodent retainers. They're the industries. You don't know where the industries are, so there's always a diagram above each section showing you where all the switching points are and all the industry spots. East staging, St. Paul, can be seen through the access hall here or down in the main section of the layout underneath Great Falls. Here we see signal protecting the turnoff into the paper mill, and on the front of the panel you can see a green light on the main line. If we change the turnout by pressing the button, and the turnout into the paper mill, if we press the button to change the turnout, you see it goes red. Immediately the signal goes red and the turnout throws. Coming back the other way, we shall press the button again and you'll see it go to green to show the direction you have chosen, but the light will stay red until the turnout has gone all over in the correct direction, and then it will give you a clear signal. There we go. This is the Essex paper mill. Somewhere there's a bear, but must be sleeping at this time of day. And all the yard turnouts are controlled by this panel. All point motors are servos, and the panel shows red and white, as we have a number of colorblind people who operate. So instead of green, I've used the white, which they say they can see better than green, and they now know the difference between the two. And we cross over, and you can see the crossover has changed, and we put it back again, and they can see the white light to where they go. We come through the tunnel from Moccasin, and on the edge of the escarpment is the gravel pit as they're cutting into the area. We also have grain silo, and we come up the main line behind the front panel and arrive at Great Falls. All mainline turnouts again are controlled by push buttons. We press the button, the turnout changes, and the corresponding signals on the gantry change. Great Falls is the highest point on the layout, and switch stands, tall switch stands, show that these are operated by slide switches, so people don't have to reach over the layout, especially those who are vertically challenged. We have mounted the slide switches at the front edge of the layout, and as you can see, each one has a colour: white, red and yellow, and the corresponding turnouts have oil cans near them: yellow, white and red. So when we slide switch, the corresponding turnout operates. Great Falls North is past the two signals, doing the industries on the far side of the main line, and the two tracks are protected by signals. if we change the turnout, they will change. So that vertically challenged people do not have to reach over the buildings and knock things around and damage things. We have a magnet. The magnet's indicated 2 barrels with yellow bands, so you know exactly where it is without having to stand on a chair or flap your wings to look down. Again, turnouts are operated by slide switch, and you can see the colours alongside the turnouts, and the corresponding turnouts have their coloured switches: yellow, white and red. We have a branch line that comes from Augusta all round the back of Great Falls North, and wait at the signal for clearance. When switching that back area, it is normal to reverse the train up the branch and to switch without interfering with the main line. In Augusta we have 2 turnouts, which will give us 3 tracks. We select the track that we want. We want to bring the train out that's parked in there. We know there's a train there because we have a red light. That one's okay. We want to come through there, so we change that to green. These are done by servos and the Tam Valley singlet boards. When a train goes in and gets to the end of the track, we get the red light come on as just shown. Black Eagle has the stockyards, still to be finished, and is operated by the more experienced drivers, as the train has to park a caboose in one of the yard tracks and do the switching within the yard. All trains are blocked so that Black Eagle is at the back of the train. Nothing is parked on the hill. All rolling stock will run away if we park on the main line. This is Cascade Junction, and when taking the branch which takes us off through Sunburst, we come in to this area on the peninsula and go on to staging around the other side. But in the hallway between the 2 sections of layout, we have the yard master and someone to operate this. And because a lot of the operators are a little bit on the big side, it's easier to stand at one end to do your switching, delayed uncoupling, and operate the turnouts from the panel on the end. So the rail motor is ready to depart, but the track's against him, so we just touch the black button and it changes. These operate reasonably quickly, so an operator can stand at one end, do his coupling and uncoupling here, and look after the box factory. When he's required to switch to the other end, he can use the panel, which is identical at this end. So we have a freight come in, we can bypass the station and come round. I change the turnout here or the other end, the lights will change accordingly. They're both driving the Tam Valley quad board. The tunnel accesses 2-track staging yard at Sweetgrass. The turnouts in Sweetgrass are operated by the switch, and because there's a red light there, there's a loco on one track giving me free access to the other track. This is the track plan for the staging. There are 3 tracks for Seattle, 3 tracks for St. Paul, but I do have a through track if I want to run the Empire Builder or a long train just for open days just for trains running round and round. At the Seattle end there are 3 turnouts, but you don't have to stick your head in or periscope or magnifying glass to see which way the turnouts are lined up. We have accessory decoders driving the turnouts, and if we wish to go through the middle track here, we select accessory route 55 on our throttle and press the button, and they change and we have track straight through. I can't remember the turnout numbers, they are marked, but all I need are the numbers on the end of the track, and 55's the one through the middle. Selected track 51, which is the closest track to me, and it has a green light in the track. We come to the end of our little trip around the Great Falls subdivision as a switcher pulls a cut of cars in the yard, and